So, I am sitting here, and I know this doesn't sound like the most uplifting message for, especially around Christmas time, but somebody needs to hear it. I don't know who the fuck it is. No idea. I know a lot of things about a lot of things a lot of the time, but no, I don't know about this. Anyway, I know that my hair is really tangled, apparently. I know that I'm sitting here living in my car. It's Christmas time, as everyone knows. And, it's hard. The fact that I have no family and friends. I have no friends, no family. And I'm not saying that to keep speaking it into existence. It simply has been that way. I know that there are people that care about me. I just never hear from them. That has nothing to do with my perception and everything to do with their lack of effort. Yeah. Okay, so, I'm just making that clear. I'm not manifesting anything. I'm simply reporting on what it was like today and the last 6 months. Okay, so, that's where I'm coming from with that. I'm just telling the truth. And I don't expect it to be that way for the foreseeable future or anything. That's what it's been. Since everybody in my family died, I know that, the scenery is not that great. It's the inside of my car, and the lighting's kind of fucking weird, but, whatever, if you don't like it, find something else to watch. If you do like it, subscribe, comment, share. Oh yeah, and fucking donate to my channel. Because I need it. And I'm a really good person. I'm actually worth donating money to. And I'll actually show you where it went too. That's what I used to do on Periscope. People would send me things and send me money, and I would show them what I was doing with it. It's kind of like a fun thing to do, like it's an interactive thing. Anyway, but it's been hard. I think I've yelled at my dog twice in the last week, which is a lot. By the way, for me, that's a lot. I never yell at her. I raise my voice sometimes, but no, yelling, no. That doesn't happen. And both times, it's been because, this is what she did today. This is my jealous dog. Okay, so, it's just a pillowcase. True. She's my best friend in the whole world. True. She's just a dog. True, all true. Still, this kind of shit is this is my one nice pillowcase. One. That it was. And it's silk, It's the one nice fucking thing I have in this fucking car. That's clean and smells good and is soft. My little luxury thing, Everything else is dirty, got holes in it. It's fucking, I really care if I have it or not kind of stuff. But this is my pillow. This is my pillow. This is my thing. It's the only fucking thing I have in the world. So when she does this kind of shit, and the reason she did it was because I was talking to the elderly gentleman who came up here that day. He had the bloody hands, and I helped him out, just with water, clean paper towels, and some hydrogen peroxide, but, he needed it, and he and I were speaking today. He walked by the car, and so my dog eats huge holes in my one nice thing, and I screamed at her. Not gonna lie, I screamed at my dog. I didn't just yell, I screamed. Angry. And it's not about the pillowcase, because all of those issues are separate. What made me angry about that, what made me scream at her, was, it's too much. I don't like this world very much. I never really did. I never really saw my life as a gift. And most of my life, most of my 40 years of life, I spent most of my time I didn't really care if I lived or died. Didn't really care. I was depressed, anxious, um, just generally a miserable fucking person. Angry, hurt, betrayed, traumatized. I didn't really go out of my way to hurt other people. That was something I never really got into. It wasn't anything. I've seen other people like genuinely take pleasure in hurting other people, doing horrible things to other people. They get some sense of like, oh, I fucked them up. It's a horrible attitude, and it's one of the like ugliest things I've ever seen on a human being. The ugliest thing I've ever seen on another human being is lack of compassion. I don't care what you look like. That makes you instantly the most unattractive, despicable, disgusting person ever. I mean, you could be fucking, you could look like you were sculpted by the gods themselves, and still, I would find you repulsive. So, I never really felt lack of empathy for people. I do in certain ways, but mostly when people are doing things to themselves, then that's a thing. But, going back to, like, I spent most of my life, really anxious, really depressed in one area of my life or another, if not just the whole fucking thing. And I never really felt joyful or saw my life as a gift in particular. I didn't really fucking care. I spent most of my life trying to be as, like, not apathetic, but detached as possible, because it was easier. It was less painful. It was 6:46 on the clock when I said that. It was, yeah, it was less painful. It was easier. I was less affected by the horrible shit that I saw everywhere, that I still see everywhere. Everywhere. Like, literally everywhere. Even in God's people. Oh, yeah. I mean, even, of course, there's not much, when you reach certain ascension points, there's really not much there shouldn't be much in your life, if anything at all, that is against God's will. You might do things occasionally that kind of shock you, and, and you need to ask forgiveness for them, but they're never really very big. And also, like, compared to other people's is what I mean. And compared to things that you could be doing, or things that people expect you to be doing, kind of shit. But, it's no excuse, and there's no excuses for anything, but it is a reason why. But there shouldn't be, like, there's no area of my life in which I'm living in sin, like, deliberately not following the word of God. And I don't mean in some religious sense. I mean in the ethical and moral sense of the word. And yeah, no, not religious though. Because, like, fuck religion. Religion is captive. Religion is to keep people captive. It's not freedom. Christ is freedom. God is freedom. Religion, no, it's not. I don't think any of them are. Frankly, I don't really think that any of them are. It's a weird system that people use to get close to God. I don't understand it really. I've learned a lot from religion, but I would say no. Christ tells us, the Bible tells us, seek ye the truth, and the truth will make you free. Not seek religion, not seek church. I've never found freedom in church. That's not where I found it. No, I found it with Christ. And frankly, when I'm fellowshipping with, I think I need to check on my chicken. Cooking some chicken for Bella. When I'm fellowshipping with Christ, I don't, is that, I think it might be done, Mimu. I'm not sure though. Let me check. When I'm fellowshipping with Christ, church never comes up. Frankly, never. We don't ever talk about it. And I think part of the reason for that. It's because Christ doesn't want me to turn away from him and feel like, and which I know better than that. But also, to fellowship is one thing, but to go to church, no. The two churches that I attended in at different times in Santa Barbara, there was behavior in the leadership of that church. We'll just say that. I won't say who or any of that, but the leadership of the church in both cases. I mean, the higher ups in the church, the people who are supposed to know better, who do know better. Both churches. That's why I won't have anything to do with them. I will not go to either one of them anymore. Not Ocean Hills and not to the LDS church. You won't catch me there. No. 11, 12 on the clock when I said that. No, I won't go. Literally, stop me out, please, honey. Unless God himself asks me. Which I don't think he would do, honestly. I don't see why he would do that. But he could. He could. I always like to leave that door open for God. But literally, that's it. 1134 on the clock when I said that. I would not. I have no desire. None. It's not the first time I've encountered that. Often when you scrutinize or look too closely at a church's structure, they're so fucking horrible. They're so awful. They're so hypocritical. They're so judgmental. This is I don't think most people know this. I mean, you should know this though. I've known this for a long time, but I've rarely talked about it and I've rarely heard other people talk about it. The spirit of religion is a demon. I know how that sounds. I know. 12:22 on the clock when I said that. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like, what? Religion? Yeah, religion is part of the matrix. Think about it. God is not religion. Not at all. God is not religion. Not even a little bit. All the crappy things, all the really crappy things that people have done in the name of God, that's man doing shit. That's not God. God had nothing to do with that. And as long as, you'll be like, well, why did God let it happen then? Well, because if he did do something, it would be acting against our agency, against our free will. And that, breaks natural law. So then, it's kind of like time traveling. You start to have, paradoxes in time because you interfered. That God knows that. That's why he doesn't interfere. Not often. If he does, it's really important. So, but religion, yes, is a spirit. It is. People get so indoctrinated with religious beliefs and dogma that they lose sight of what is God. They lose sight of the Spirit. And the Holy Spirit doesn't move with the rigidity of doctrine. Doctrine is rigid. It doesn't flow. Now, I'm not talking about doctrine as in the Word of God, because the Word of God is very fluid. That's not doctrine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within the structure of a church. The things that the society within a church holds us to. The expectations of being perfect. And not perfect. Everybody says, oh, well, I'm not perfect. I'm not Christ. But then they'll turn around and use that as an excuse to not be more Christ-like. I have experienced just as much condescension and judgment in the spiritual community as I have amongst Christians. And just as much, 14:44 on the clock when I said that, and just as much hypocrisy, if not more. I mean, I would say it's about even. Either way, that is the same spirit. The one of anti-religion, so to speak, that's I don't conform to religion, is just as religious in its pursuit of non-conformity to anything as religion is to conformity. Does that make sense? You know, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And this is where I found despair. Years and years, decades ago, I found despair here. Because I felt like, well, so if no one is, and no human is ever really going to understand me, and I'm never really going to fit in anywhere. And just today I felt this. If I'm going to feel like even my dog doesn't really care about me, if I spend 20 minutes having a conversation with another human being, which I rarely do. I rarely talk to anyone at all. I go weeks without actually having conversations with people. And it's despite my, extrovert, my extrovert, I'm very personal with people. I can be very friendly. And at the same time, I don't really go out of my way to do that. Because 9 times out of 10, it proves to be a waste of my time. And I'm not saying that in some conceited, oh, I'm too good to talk to people. No, it's just like, I mean, 2 people called me today. And actually 1 person, well, no, that's true. 3 people actually today talked with me and went out of their way to speak with me, not the other way around. It's usually the other way around, not them trying to talk to me. It's usually not like that. But all 3 times, those people actually stopped to speak with me today, or made an effort to speak with me today. So that's different. But I and I appreciate that, I do. And still, out of all 3 of those people, I don't think any one of them really, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know any of them. I don't know any of the 3 of them well enough to, I don't know. And I don't like to judge people. Their actions, that's different. Them, no, I don't like to judge them. But when you spend all your days with your dog, and she is my best friend, that's the truth, she really is. And she's probably the best friend I've ever had. And that's not because I'm terrible at making friends or keeping friends or anything like that. It's because people are horrible at being friends. Really, is what it is. Most of the friends that I've had, especially female friends, they've been horribly jealous of me about something or other that I didn't even know about, kind of shit. What? I didn't even know about it. Why didn't you just talk to me about it? But no, instead they let it fester, and they ended up betraying me and treating me like shit, and telling lies about me, having sex with my boyfriends and weird shit. I've never done that to any of my friends. Ever. Never. Never. I would sooner walk away from somebody, ooh, itchy nose, than do some fucked up shit to them. And it's not because I'm not capable. It's because I really don't feel good about being vengeful. It's never been my thing. I mean, if the opportunity presents itself and it's very clear that you need to be taught a lesson, I will do that. But it's never I sit around and plot it, think it out, oh, I'm going to do this to you. No. Often it's just, and I do have those genius moments where I really just hit back, but I'm really not trying as a thing. I'm not being mean. I know it doesn't sound genuine, but it is. It's the truth. I don't sit around and plot against how am I going to get back at this person? I never do that. That's just not how it works. There are some situations where I wonder how I'm going to rectify something or how I'm going to get something back or whatever it is. And like a bolt of lightning, the idea comes to me and I act upon it. But no, I don't. It's never anything mean, which is another reason why I know that it's from God, is because it's never anything cruel. Although the other person might perceive it as such, but then people think the silliest things are cruel. Really, they do. I mean, they get so hurt about their ego being offended. just like their feelings being hurt. And I mean like minor emotional disruptions. People like really get bent out of shape about it, and it's pathetic. It really is, especially when they know better than to be so easily offended, kind of thing. It's like, why are you so easily offended? Like, you can't be very secure with yourself if you're so easily offended. That's not a good sign. But you know, I spent most of my life being really depressed. I mean, that's part of what is the miracle for me about being so happy and like hacking the organic matrix several times in a row and still going strong and like really happy to do it. And yet still like to be so stressed out. And like I do a lot of things. It's not stressed. It's like an underlying struggle. This like living in the car shit. Not like not having financial freedom. You know, that kind of thing. That's what bothers me. You know, if I want to pick up and go to fucking wherever, like Minnesota, I don't know, I'm just making shit up. But like, you know, go check out the Great Lakes or something. I haven't been able to do that yet. I haven't figured out how to make that happen. That pisses me off. The fact that my dog doesn't have a yard to run around in, that pisses me off. The fact that, you know, I don't have a bathroom to use or even like a friend's house to go over to and like, you know, that's lame. That's not right. Like, especially around Christmas time, like, not that people are especially nice during Christmas time, but like, you know, why? Like, I've been utterly abandoned. I mean, so many times in my life that like I'm over it now, but you know, when you go weeks, days and days and days, and weeks and weeks and weeks, and sometimes months without talking to other people, and then, you know, and then like you go through, I went through the whole Thanksgiving season, nothing. Christmas season, nothing. You know, it gives you a kind of perseverance that is unshakable. And at the same time, you realize like how much you actually don't want to socialize with other human beings because they suck. Most of them do. Most of them really fucking suck. And they have no idea how to even be a decent human being, let alone a good friend. You know, so you can imagine how much hope I have for an actual relationship with a man. Not much. But I mean, some is better than none, but yeah, not much. But you know, when you start to realize like how like cursory and shallow most people are, it becomes not even worth it to try to socialize. And you know, I really felt some despair, you know, and I felt that same feeling that I used to feel all the time. I felt like I didn't really care I didn't know if I was coming or going. You know, as far as like, I didn't really care if I was alive or dead. Life didn't seem very precious to me. It didn't seem important to me. And I really didn't care. I always loved God, but I didn't really I wasn't in alignment with him. And I really was just like, well, you know, fuck it. You know, it is what it is kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, it's a miserable way to live. It's fucking horrible. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. You just like, it's like surviving, but like not living. Ever. Like never really living. You never really love anything. I mean, you think you do. Of course you do. And I wouldn't tell anyone they don't. But like, I thought I loved things too. And the truth of it was, I didn't really know what love was. Didn't really know. Didn't really know. Because my gauge of love was always, you know, this traumatized, half-assed, like kind of abusive love. So I really didn't know what love was. I thought that I loved things. I thought that they loved me back. But that's not the truth. They didn't love me. And I only knew a shadow of the love that I could have been giving to that person or thing or, you know, animal if, you know, if they had been truthful with me kind of thing, you know. There was always deception involved in any relationship that I had. Always. Even with my own mother. And it was awful. It was horrible. I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't really care. I lived in this like perpetual state of I don't give a fuck. And it wasn't that I was particularly apathetic. I was just detached with everything and everyone. I didn't trust anything. I didn't trust anyone, and I had good reason not to. And I think there are a lot of people like that. You know, I remember getting like some mental health diagnosis when I was about 15 years old, and I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I'd rather have terminal cancer. Yeah. At that age, what I was told about it, I mean, I might as well have just been told that like I was going to die in 6 months. It felt as helpless and useless as being told what I was told. And none of it, and the reason I'm not saying it right now is because it was rescinded, which is like even more frustrating. Because when I got into my 30s, I actually went back and saw the same psychiatrist. This is a totally true story. The same psychiatrist that diagnosed me when I was 15 years old. He diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. I was like, what? And I mean, I read up on it and everything, and it was bad. And what I was experiencing was so off the hook crazy that like it didn't feel like I was bipolar though. I never believed that I was. And at the same time, like I was suffering from a lot of the symptoms, but most of the symptoms that I was going through were because of the medication I was taking. Like the mania. Oh. Excuse me, I was never manic unless I was taking medication. True story. Never. I mean, I've always been a high energy person anyway. So to say that I'm manic is like saying that I'm enthusiastic. It's pretty much the same thing. So I was taught to curb my enthusiasm all the fucking time. You know, don't be too excited, Rebecca, because people might think that you're having a manic phase. This went on for 10 years. 27 on the clock when I said that. 27 and 27 and 28 on the clock when I said that. It was a fucking nightmare. On top of that, there were these other things that manifested themselves for me, and I'd never had this happen to me before I started taking medication, and I never had it happen since I stopped taking medication. So you tell me what it is. But you know, I tried to kill myself. Like, I mean, I seriously tried. I tried to unalive myself, I should say. I tried to unalive myself very seriously about 6 times while I was taking that medication. It was before they put the black box label on it that actually says, hey, this might make your like suicidal feelings or suicidal ideations worse. Yeah, no, there wasn't that warning label wasn't there. So, you know, I really just thought like it was me, and nobody told me that it wasn't. Like I said, there was no black box label. So when I went to my doctor and I said, hey, look, I'm thinking about killing myself, they're like, yeah, we need to lock you up. And I'm like, what? Which only made things worse because, you know, all of the stigmas about, you know, mental health in the first place. And then, you know, you get locked up for it. And it's like, oh my God. It was a fucking nightmare. Hold on, I gotta get the chicken, boo-boo. Yay. You're gonna love this chicken, boo-boo. Where's my fork? Where's my fork? Oh, for God's sake. Alright. So, and what it put me through, those suicide attempts. And the thing was, excuse me, unaliving attempts. The thing about it was, stop doing that, please. Well, there were a number of things about it, honestly, but hold on. I gotta get this to. The thing about it was, the thing about it was that I actually didn't want to do that. That really wasn't what was happening with me. What was happening was I was just in so much pain that I wanted the pain to stop. I actually wanted to live, but I didn't know how to live while being in so much pain. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't know how to, excuse me. Ugh. I really couldn't reconcile the amount of pain I was in with wanting to live. It didn't make sense. It didn't seem to jive, you know, I couldn't reconcile. I couldn't make sense of it. And I had no joy. None. I had no joy in my life. None at all. I was a miserable human being. And I really didn't have any reason to think that it would ever change, really. Not really. And that was another part of what made it so horrible. So hold on, Moo, it's really hot, honey. So I kept trucking. And, you know, during those 10 years of taking what I call head meds, psych meds, specifically, and also, you know, in conjunction with, like, things like anti-anxiety medication, like clonazepam and shit like that, I was not only hopelessly dependent on that shit, and I don't mean addicted, because it really wasn't a psychological addiction for me. I didn't want to be taking it in the first place, you know, it really wasn't like that. But the fear of getting off of that was horribly destructive. And it kept me taking that medication for many more years than I actually needed to. And that was never the answer. But my inability to discipline myself enough, because I was really under a lot of stress, and I really didn't know how to deal with it. I had not been given the tools that I needed. And what I didn't understand was that I was never going to be given those tools to survive this. That was what I didn't understand, was that nobody was ever going to provide them. That's interesting looking for me, because frankly, the world didn't really want me to survive. And I mean, I know that sounds weird, but if anyone knows anything about the medical industry, they're not in the business of keeping us healthy, because you don't make money off of healthy patients. You know, it's just, you know, people have accidents and things, which is why I would be like an emergency doctor if I was ever a doctor, or, you know, decided to actually use my healing skills in a medical setting. But you know, yeah, of course doctors know what I'm talking about. So, you know, it was, you know, it behooved the entire medical establishment, plus my friends and family, it behooved them as well, to continue believing that there was something fundamentally wrong with me and not them. Of course, it was no failure on their part whatsoever. No accountability on their part. See, this is what I think part of where people's anger issues come from, especially when they're dealing with, you know, mental health issues, or at least what has been diagnosed as a mental health issue, is because Nobody takes accountability. It's you standing there being called crazy because you've been traumatized to the point where you can't fucking breathe or function properly anymore. And you're the only one taking responsibility. You're the only one accepting accountability for what's going on around you. And everybody else is just like, you're crazy. And it's like, that's like a further betrayal on top of all the other betrayals, you know, that got you to the point where you were depressed in the first place. Does that make sense? Like, it's very much like a narcissist empath paradigm where you're like pushed to the point of utter fucking exhaustion with, you know, the fucking narcissist. And then when you finally get mad, they freak out, you know, and point out all of your weaknesses. And it's like that. It's like that. That's what the mental health care system did to me. There was no accountability on their part. And, you know, it was even like once I took accountability and I was standing in my power and I was saying, okay, you know, I'm dealing with all these things, and, you know, and then it would be used against me. Like compulsively used against me. And I got sick of it. And I was like, well, fuck you then. Finally, against everyone's advice. Here you go, boo-boo. And even my own judgment at the time told me that what I was doing was kind of crazy. But, like, I had to try. So, I quit taking my... And I'm not advocating that anyone do this. Not at all. It was really hard. I had a lot of physical withdrawals. It was strange. I felt weird when I did this. So, I'm not advocating it in any way. Not at all. But I'm just relating what I did and what happened to me. So I quit. I cold turkeyed all my medication. I don't think I was taking very much medication at the time, but whatever I was taking, I quit taking it. And it was awful. It was awful. It took about a year for my body to like acclimate to like normal living. And my mind too. My mind had to detox. My brain literally had to detox. I had no idea what I was doing. There was no help. There was no one to give me advice, since nobody believed in me. Literally no one. Not even my own mother. I had to completely do it alone. And while, like, I was being supported, I had an ex at the time who was helping me. But I don't think he really believed in me either. I don't think so. I think he just thought I was crazy. I mean, he didn't believe in me. But so, was it good? Was it good? Was it good, huh, Mimu? Did you get it? Did you get it all, Mimu? Okay, good job. Good job. You're going to lick a hole in the bowl. It's okay. There we go. Good job. And like now, it's the same. It's like the same. It's that way with the homeless thing now. Burpee dog. I've been thrown away again. I've been dealing with homelessness on and off since 2012. Yeah. Stop, baby girl, please. Hey. Stop, lovey bunny, please. And, you know, I mean, even after it was really a matter of getting housing was always the issue before the housing authority, before the rape at housing authority, which is in my videos. You can go back. It's the video is called how I became homeless. Trigger warning. It's on there. But before that, it was really a matter of like finding the actual place to rent, finding a place that was like suitable and all that kind of thing. That was more the problem. since the eviction and since the rape and eviction at Housing Authority of Santa Barbara, El Correo Apartments, it's been much more about, like, the suitability of the place, because, you know, when you're kind of desperate to get off the street or find a place at all, you'll kind of take any place. And when you've had, once you've had something horrible, like what happened at El Correo happened, you're much more concerned with your safety and the people that you're renting from, and getting yourself into another failing situation, you know, because if you don't set yourself up for success, you're setting yourself up for failure, really. If you fail to plan, you're really planning to fail. That's how that works. And so, that's been more the frustration, and also, like, the financial aspect of it. You know, Santa Barbara's a really expensive place to live in. Everybody knows this. Everyone. Rent here has always been crazy. And it's not that I'm hell-bent on staying here or anything like that, but while I'm homeless, I'm going to live in the prettiest place I can. And it does happen to be my own hometown. And considering that, you know, I've done a lot of work here, and my whole family was from here. And I mean, I was born here. I'm gonna live here while I'm homeless. I don't really need to stay here, but, you know, I'm not gonna try to leave. I'm not gonna do that. You know, I'm not gonna do that to myself. I'm really not. Besides, I've been all over the country, and it's really jacked up everywhere else too. It really is. People are living in their cars and homeless everywhere. So I don't know that I really have a better chance somewhere where I'm not known, and I'm not only that, but no one's familiar with me, but I'm not familiar with them either. It would be like starting all over from scratch again. You know, and I'm very open to traveling and moving, and that's fine. But, like, I'm not going to do anything that isn't sure anymore. I'm just not doing it. I'm just not. I just won't. I'm not doing it. No fucking way. Nor would I move into another housing authority unit. I really don't think that I would. No, not really. I mean, anything's possible. But, like, yeah, probably not, though. Besides, I've been on those waiting lists for like years. Years and years and years. Nothing ever happens. Nothing's ever happened. So, you know, because see, what housing doesn't tell you, and what a lot of people don't tell you, is that once you get evicted, you go on this kind of like blacklist. And even though your name's on waiting lists, it's probably never going to happen. Ever. Like, never. And the reason for that is because they'll keep you on these, I wouldn't say like a blacklist, but like a gray list maybe. And they would never admit to this. They would never admit to it. But because I've worked in Santa Barbara County and been like the recipient of Santa Barbara County services, I know that this is a fact. Most county workers know about what I'm saying. Know about what I'm talking about. Oh, they sure do. And, you know, it's the same with like renting from landlords in town. It's the same kind of thing. You know? So, it's a gossip thing. Santa Barbara is very fake. It's full of a lot of fake people. It's not everybody. Not everybody's like that. But a lot of people are. And it can be difficult to discern sometimes the fake people from the real ones, because the fake ones are really fucking fake. And like they're really good at faking to be real. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It's their crazy, not my crazy. But after what I've been through, like, I've had a really crap life. Really. Honestly. It's been shitty. I haven't had a very good life. No. And I'm not saying that to garner any kind of sympathy or empathy or anything. It's just the truth. Like, I raised my brother and sister in a single parent. I helped raise my brother and sister in a single parent family. My sister, unbeknownst to me for like 2 decades, was accusing me of beating her every day when we were growing up, which no, never happened. But still, she accused me of it. 44 on the clock when I said that. And I didn't even know that she was lying and telling people this until just about like 5 years ago. I had no idea. All that time, I had no idea. My mother was abusive. She wasn't a bad mom. She did the best she could. She was, she is a good mom in a lot of ways. She is a very wise person. And, like, there were a lot of things in my family that were fucked up. There are a lot of things in every family that are fucked up. But, like, we grew up poor. We were always poor. The reason we had so many opportunities was because my mother she insisted on us trying out new things and getting out there kind of thing. Like, I won a lot of scholarships with my writing, things like that. But other than that, we didn't really have many opportunities for education or all kinds of other things. We just didn't have it. And, we grew up, I grew up around a bunch of Mexican migrant workers, straight across the border, and they're really good people, but like painfully poor. We were all pretty painfully poor. And, whatever we had that was nice was really like given to us, or we worked for it and earned it. School was hard. Being the oldest sister was hard. Not having a dad was hard. Not having a mom that was like fully there was hard. And she wasn't crazy. She was always working. So she wasn't like emotionally available, I think is more what it was. Mentally, she was totally... What was that? That was really weird. I don't know if the camera saw that or what. Okay. Just gonna keep going. I don't know. Did the camera see that? I don't know. Maybe it did. I don't know. I'll have to rewind or like replay the video and look, but I don't know what that was. It just fell from the ceiling? No idea. Like, I have no idea what that was. Okay, I don't know. There's nothing up there. That was weird. But anyway, we didn't have a very easy life. It was hard for me, especially. And, like growing up, I started going to college early. I was always like the youngest person in my school after that. I was very solitary, not lonely, but alone. Very intelligent, which is, can be a blessing and a curse. It tends to be a very solitary life for most people. And then, with everybody dying and, I've had my fair share of abuse and abandonment and all kinds of trauma and really, really fucked up shit. Homelessness, poverty, all kinds of stuff. And, and like I said, like nobody taking accountability for a damn thing except me. Like, people, in fact, going out of their way to not take accountability for anything. And so really it just left me holding the bag all the time, and being like, well, I did the best I could. And still I would be ostracized for that. And it was like, because I was the only one admitting that I hadn't done my best, or like that I did the best I could and it just wasn't good enough, that I was the one that was wrong somehow. But when it's like the other people in that relationship weren't even fucking trying. Like, that's not cool at all. But like, the world often does that. It's why people don't, take more accountability a lot of the time, is because they're afraid that they'll be the only one taking accountability. And, very often that's actually true. And it's hard. It's hard. It is hard to take accountability when nobody else is doing it. When nobody else actually even tried, So, but like, I felt that way today. that I used to feel. And I felt that way for probably about 10, 15 minutes. And I ended up calling, like, the one person that I would call friend in this whole world that I would call, like, has been like a halfway decent friend to me. And I've tried to be a halfway decent friend to him too. But he's dying. Or his body's dying anyway. And it's really hard to stay in communication with him. And then also, like, when I really, when I feel like I really need someone, which he knows, I really don't want to lean on him because, he's dealing with a lot. So it's not like I don't really feel comfortable venting to him, or when I do, which I rarely do that. But, I mean, I think it was probably the first time in 6 months that I had actually, like, called him and, said some shit like that. But I know, and also because I don't want to, sorry, I didn't mean to shine a light in your eyes. I don't want to stress him out because I know he does actually care about us, and there's really not much he can do to help us. So that's why when I do have issues, I tend not to tell him about them, because I know that it's hard for him to hear that. It's very emasculating, and it's difficult for men to hear, especially when they care about you, whether they're just your friend or a romantic partner, or, your dad or your brother or your boss or whatever the fuck, your coworker, it doesn't matter. It's hard for them to hear that we're not okay. It's hard for a man to listen to a woman be upset. And I get that. I do. I understand that. And at the same time, like, dude, like, it's probably been 6 months since I've called him and just been like, wow, I'm fucking done. Like, somewhere between crying and screaming, crying and yelling. That's where I was today. And it was like, it reminded me, when he had to get off the phone. And it wasn't anything to do with me. He literally had to go. He couldn't stay on the phone. But, it was, it's a good reminder for me to keep my shit together, keep my shit straight. And I really don't need to be venting things like that to people. Not really. I mean, especially to people who can't really help me. And I want to get out of this car. Like, I'm done living like this. Like, it was a great experience. I think I squeezed every fucking ounce of experience, joy, positivity, looking on the bright side, healing, growth, spiritual development, and every fucking thing else I could, and then some, that anyone could ever get out of this experience of being homeless. I've gotten it all. Like, I picked it all up. I got it. I will never forget it. And, like, I put it to use too. It's not just like, I haven't just survived being homeless, but, like, I've thrived. I've spent this time that I've been, this particular time in this car, and, well, this last time with Bella that I've been homeless, I've hacked the Matrix 3 times, that organic Matrix 3 times. Like, what? Completely done. Like, where it's broken. Like, I broke it. Like, no. I couldn't really for sure say about the next life, but this life, yeah, I'm never going back to sleep again. No, fuck that. It's so awful. Like, and there's a lot of, it's really harsh to be fully awake. And I know that how harsh that is, to see the world for what it really is in most places, and to be, like, hyper aware of that, like, much more aware than other people. That's what I'm saying. It's hard. It's harsh. It can be grating on the human spirit if you don't temper it and balance it out with joy and hope and optimism in other areas. And that's part of, see, what made me so angry with Bella was that, or just angry, was that it's not so bad to imagine not being with her because I die or she dies, or, something like that neither one of us can control. But the thought of her not being with me, or somehow betraying me, or somehow, like, not like chewing on a pillowcase is betraying me, but that's kind of how it feels. it's not a betrayal. It's not like a human betrays people. Like, like another human would lie or betray you. It's different. It's not really deliberate, like an emotional, it's not a deliberate emotional response. Coming from a dog, obviously, psychologically, it's much more childlike and childish. And so in that case, it would be like, me yelling at a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old. Like, I totally understand. Kids just don't have that. Neither does a dog necessarily. Although I think they have a lot more than we give them credit for. Most animals do. But, like, at the same time, like, to understand the nature of their minds and how they work, it's so much more. It's like a simple human, like a human being who has developmental disabilities or something like that. And so, in that case, you can't stay mad. But, like, you can, I guess, but I can't. But no, what made me feel bad, what made me feel so similar and just gave me a taste of what I used to feel all the time. Depression, anxiety. Just a crushing despair is what I used to feel all the time. I felt that way all the time. Maybe I might come up for air like once every couple months, but it was always because of someone else. It was never like under my own power is what I'm saying. It was never like that. And, and it was momentary. It was fleeting. It was so fleeting that I really didn't know what joy was. Not really. And like joy is being happy in the face of anything, good or bad. That's really what joy is for me. And it's not easy. Like, it's simple. It's not easy. But like what made me feel that way today was like, yeah, the thought of like not having her on my side, it pissed me off. Like I thought, well, fuck, if I can't even have my friend, my dog, my only friend in the whole fucking world, then what am I even doing? Yeah. And it reminded me just those, 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of feeling that way reminded me of why it's such a miracle to me to be here and have stayed in this sustained, maintained joy. And like nothing has been here. No one's been here to maintain it for me. It's been me, my dog, and God. That's it. No one else. Nothing else. That's it. So, other things have contributed, but nothing's been there. Day in, day out, no. Nothing. Me, my dog, and God. That's it. That's it. My car. But like in a lot of ways, I made this car what I wanted it to be too. It would have worked out in the Honda Civic that I had as well. I just didn't know how. And it's been nice to have a nice car. It's been really nice. But like I'm trying to think like physical things. Yeah, no. But like no one's been there. No one's checked on us. No one's given a shit. No one. And even before the car and everything else, before the accident on the 154 and all that, I was doing it completely alone. There were a couple of people here and there that helped me out, but they weren't friends. They weren't trying to be my friend. They were just really trying to help someone that they saw that was struggling and hurting. And, but I appreciate it. It's all the same, but still, they weren't my friends necessarily. One of them was. No. I don't know. I don't really know the other one very well, but, maybe we could have gotten close. I don't know. But, it was hard. And, like, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. I think, like, tomorrow afternoon. And I'm sitting up here and I've got all my shit sitting in a tarp. Just kind of waiting for Christmas to come again. I think this will be like the 6th or 7th Christmas that I've spent alone. I did go visit my sister and her family, like 7 years ago now. 6 years ago? I don't even fucking remember, actually. But, like, that was also very superficial. My sister's very superficial. And she's the one, like, half, she's my half sister, stepsister. But still, she's like the one family member that I have that's still alive. And when I say she wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire, I mean that. She's done things to my belongings inside the hope chest that we shared. And she's done things to me that are there. It's not that they're unforgivable. It's all I need to know about her character. It's all I need to know. It's all I need to know. So, that's why I don't communicate with her at all. And then, everybody else is dead. True story. They're all dead. I have one ex that I might talk to, but he's got his head so far up methadone's ass that I can't even, I really can't talk to him for longer than about 10 to 15 minutes before I'm just like, yeah. So, and then, I don't really talk to most other people. But yeah, there were 3 different men that stopped. One that called me on the phone, another one that stopped in his Jeep to talk to me, and the elderly gentleman who I helped with his hands the other day. And I really enjoyed my conversation with him. Albeit it wasn't really about anything positive, honestly. I mean, it was, but it wasn't necessarily about a subject matter that people would perceive as positive. But then, that's what he needed to talk about. And frankly, I think that, ignoring the negativity. I mean, if it's like on the news or something, yeah, sure, fucking totally ignore it. But if it's something in your life, it really needs to be felt and dealt with and investigated deeply. Especially the darker and more horrible it is, the more deep and and diligently it needs to be investigated. As horrible and awful as that sounds, it's just the truth. It's like a kind of spiritual surgery that we need to go through in order to investigate our own wounds, kind of thing. And really, the more it hurts and the more depressing and the more anxious and the more awful it is, the more that shadow needs to be integrated, because it's really hard. I know it's really hard. Those are the things that test our very will to live are often the things that make us the strongest, because we not only survive them, but we learn to thrive under those conditions. And life makes it difficult for a reason. We're not meant to have it easy necessarily. I mean, spiritually anyway. And, we need to be tested, not tested, but it's not a test like that. But we need to be refined, I think is more the word, refined. It's not that we're not strong enough or not. It's just that, there are imperfections, I think, that need to be sorted out. I don't know what that was. The wind is picking up. What was that? No idea. Huh. I wonder what that was. But and I mean, I'm not God, obviously. I can't, I wouldn't try to venture a guess as to what the reasons for things are all the time, but I know that there are reasons, is really all I can say for sure. I know that in the moment, and some things seem so senseless, like the loss of a child. It seems so fucking senseless that you really can't find the meaning in it. But I'll tell you that you're never going to find the meaning in anything if you don't look. And I know that it's kind of easy for some people to say things about grief and shit like that. And, like, frankly, none of it's easy for me. None of it's been easy for me. None of it. A lot of it nearly killed me several times over. Just like the fucking mental health issues when I was a kid. It wasn't the mental health issues that nearly killed me. It was believing that I actually had those. I know that's awful to say that, but, like, that's the truth. And, I mean, there's, like, something seriously wrong with psychiatry. And I mean, most people know that. But, like, I guess when you're a single parent, my mom didn't seem to know that. And it was, her lack of knowledge. I mean, the Bible tells us, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And I nearly died multiple times, not only just by my own hand, but also being poisoned by those fucking medications. And the nurses that gave me, like, wrong medication. I mean, I nearly died a number of times. I mean, outside of the unaliving attempts, like, completely outside of that, it was crazy. It was a horrible time in my life. It was really hard. I'm surprised that I lived through it, honestly. Like, there were so many things that could have accidentally happened, and they didn't, or at least it didn't, like, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, kind of thing. But, like, seriously, I mean, wow. I mean, I know a lot of people that didn't survive it, or they survived it, but they're, like, totally fucking gone, like, or they turned to drugs and alcohol. 2 of my friends from high school, they're both dead now because of that. And often addiction problems go along with mental health issues, kind of thing. And not always, but a lot of the time. And I mean, I had a woman who was a second mother to me when I was about 17 years old. She killed herself. Like, she was my best friend for at least a decade of my life. I felt horrible about that. I mean, I don't really know what I could have done to change it. I was 17 at the time, but I felt terrible. I really felt terrible. I felt like somehow I was responsible. Her boyfriend had drugged me and tried to rape me. Really nice guy. And, like, he's, like, he deserves to be alive, kind of thing, but she doesn't. I'm so fucking weird. But, I hear something out there. I think it's the chicken cooking. But, like, I've been through a lot of things. It hasn't been easy. None of it's been easy. But, like, I don't really know who needs to hear all this, but, like, it's a long story. But I made it, and I'm not going back. And it wasn't easy. I don't know if, like, people think I've had an easy life, or what the fuck they might think, or what their perception of me might be from watching YouTube videos. If you think that I've had it easy, or that I'm just, like, some, ridiculously happy-go-lucky person that's, like, naive and, yeah, no. No. I'm happy and free as a bird because I've been locked up most of my life, because I've known such unhappiness, such despair, that I will never make the choice to be unhappy again. I'm not doing it. No fucking way. No way. I've spent so much of my life there, and I know it so well. I know my enemies and adversaries, namely, the enemy of humans, the enemy of human life, the enemy of, like, I know that shit really well. That's why it makes me so not only effective and efficient with spiritual warfare, but, like, absolutely deadly. Like, I'm a spiritual assassin. Don't fuck with me. And the reason I'm so good at it is because I know my enemies and my adversaries intimately. I know them. I know everything that they will think, do, act on, I know everything. I know it before they do. True. So, that's why. And the other reason I know that is because I've spent a lot of time in the enemy camp, not collaborating with the enemy or anything like that, but being tortured by them, so to speak, tormented. And it's been really hard. I mean, I don't think I was ever meant to survive. I was meant to survive, but I don't think any of my enemies or adversaries ever meant spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. None of those people or things, entities, whatever you want to call them, ever wanted me to survive. They never believed that I would. Frankly, I didn't really believe that I would. But, God hides his most powerful weapons in some odd places sometimes. And certainly the brightest lights come out of the darkest, deepest pits. So, here I am. And that's where that unshakable, unbreakable 1:11:11 on the clock when I said that, that's where that unshakable, unbreakable nature of mine comes from. It's you have no idea what I've been through, though. That's why, it might seem silly when I say things like being happy is a choice, but I know that it's true. I know from living it. That's how I know. I know from watching, I don't know how many other people in my life be horribly, horribly depressed for decades and potentially never get out of it. And it's hard. It's a daunting task, but it is possible. And so if you find yourself feeling like that, or you find yourself going through something hard, or you find yourself, keep going. Because when going through hell, keep going. Stop, meow, please. Keep going. When going through hell, keep fucking going. Don't stop. It's not a rest stop. It's not it's not a convenience store. Keep going. Don't even stop. Don't even stop. Don't even stop to pee. If you're going through hell, just keep driving. Just find some diapers. Or piss your seat, I don't care, but don't fucking stop. Hell is not a place you want to stop in. And often you'll pick up a whole lot more bullshit than you ever meant to if you do stop. So, 1, 2, 3, 3 on the clock when I said that. So I keep going. There's nothing. There's nothing. There is nothing else. You either stop or you go. There's not any other choice. And so if you've decided to keep going up until today, you're here for a reason, is what I'm saying. If you haven't, if you haven't made an executive decision to just check out, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're here for a reason. And, if you're still fighting, you're fighting for a reason. And even if you don't know what the fuck that reason is, there's still a reason. Stop, please. There's still a reason. And sometimes that's all you have to believe in. Sometimes that's all there is. And that's kind of where I find myself today. I haven't found myself in this, this emotional state, this spiritual state for a long time. And it tells me a lot of things. It's indicative of some certain things that I know. Which, gives me hope. And at the same time, it still feels as shitty as it ever felt, really. I'm much more resilient. And somebody who can do all that on their own is a formidable person. And still, yeah, it was a hard day. Anyway, if you're fighting, keep fighting. If you're surviving, keep surviving. If you're thriving, keep thriving. Just don't give up, is my point. You're not alone. You're not as alone as you feel you are, and you're certainly not as alone as you think you are. And there are people out there who see what you're doing, who believe in you, and maybe you don't know who they are yet. Maybe you haven't seen them. Maybe you haven't even spoken to them. I don't know what your life is like. But faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. sometimes words sound so hollow. Even God's word sometimes seems hollow. But at the same time, I know that that's the truth. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So, keep going. Because it's not over till it's over. And I don't know why you're needed. I have no idea. But I know it's not time to give up. It never is time to give up. Don't ever give up on yourself. You're worth more than you could ever really know. You're more important and more precious than you may ever hear another person tell you. But believe me when I say that it's true, you are precious. You are valued and loved beyond measure. You have no idea. And you're needed here. You have to keep going. You have to keep going because the symphony would be missing a beautiful note if you left. We need everybody to play their notes. So hang in there. Stay strong. Stay blessed. Pray. Read your word. Meditate. Exercise. Get enough sleep. Be nice to yourself. And just don't give up. Just don't give up. Whatever there is to hang on to that. Hopefully it's God. But if it's not God yet, I understand that. I understand. I do. That I love you. I love you. I can honestly say that. I love you. I know your struggles. I know your pain. I know your doubt. I know your pain. I know your perpetually painful existence. I know. I know more than I ever really wanted to. And I also know that it's not going to last forever. And that you're stronger than this. And that you can do it. And that you'll make it. I know that. And I love you. Even if you can't love yourself, I love you. And I wish I knew who you were. I'd pray for you. But I don't. People don't often comment on my videos, and so I don't really know who watches them. But, if this resonated with you, like, share, comment, subscribe, and donate to our channel. I could really use the help. We've been struggling a lot lately. More than we should, actually. But, I love you all. I love you 10 toes down. From the bottoms of both of my feet. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. No one is going to do it for us. Love, blessings, compassion to you all. Bye for now.